Welcome back to the Bumper Breakfast. It's an interesting morning. And I did say that I'll be breaking some tables. I do hope that the table will be, maybe we'll be able to put it together again when I'm finally done or shattering it to pieces. I have the combination of an Imam and a pastor in the studio right here with me this morning. He preferred not to be called a pastor. He's a prophet. And I'm talking about Prophet Israel Oladele Ogundipe, the shepherd in charge of the Celestial Church of Christ Genesis Global. A lot of people just call him Prophet Israel Oladele Genesis. And that simply sums up how people recognize him on the pages of social media. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here this beautiful morning. And it's interesting that we also have the Deputy Registrar of the Institute of Economists of Nigeria, who is also the Chief Imam of the MURHI International Mosque here in the city of Lagos. Dr. Abdul Ganiyy Oladapo is here in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to have you.
Thank you very much.
So I did give both of you different assignments. He's supposed to be talking about the 7 reasons never to tolerate abuse. I'm supposed to be talking about the religious myths around the issue of divorce. But I do know that both myths, kind of meet in the middle: abuse and divorce. So we begin the conversation by listening to something one of the pastors around Nigeria, is a prophet as well, did say about abuse and divorce. They mentioned that only weak men beat their women. And when I saw that, because somebody that is very familiar with Prophet Israel Oladele Ogundipe is Apostle Johnson Sulaiman. And when I heard that, I said, now, is weakness, tantamount really? Is it synonymous with violence, or is it just a state of mind? Let's look at it from the Islamic point of view, first of all.
Well, I give great grace of Almighty Allah, the Lord of the whole universe, and I'm really happy to treat this topic, though it's an embodiment that has a serious kind of explanation, but we still need to go a little bit. Now, when you look at the state of mind, Quran chapter 3, verse 64, and Quran chapter 3, where Almighty Allah is telling us that Ar-rijalun qawwamun 'ala an-nisa bima fadalla Allah ba'dahum 'ala ba'din wa bima anfaqu min amwalikum fas-salihatu qanitatun hafidatun lil-ghaibi bima hafizallah wallati takhafuna nushuzahunna fa'izuhunna wa adribuhunna wa ajruhunna fil madaji فإذا أطعنكم فلا تبغوا عليهن سبيلا إن الله كان عليكم حكيما. Now, what the area I want to pick there is that sometimes you may have a troublesome woman. There are 3 steps Quran says you take. The first step is for easy huna. Do lecture, advise her. I don't like this thing. Why you do this thing for me? I love you now. Why must you be treating me like this? If she refuses, the next step is you leave the bed for her. You leave the bed and come and sit on the seater, so that there will not be violence.
So basically, you give space.
You give space. Then the third one is just a little bit strong. And the strong commented, Prophet said, it's not that you start boxing her. When you are not Muhammad Ali, and you are not mad, why must you box your wife? The only thing is, I don't like what you are doing. Not beating her, they calling you allergy, you want to be panic, problem we and all that. So these are the steps Quran gives.
3 steps.
3 steps.
That you're supposed to give to correct
your wife.
Okay. There is also the idea that in Christendom they say, pastor, let me not slam pastors, forgive me this morning. Husbands are in charge of their homes. If a man loses grip of his family, then everything will go wayward. And that is kind of like giving the idea that it's a teacher, student, or maybe a governor, servant kind of relationship. Maybe the interpretation to quite a number of men. Is that really what
No, the man is not in charge. Amos chapter 3 verse 3 says, can two come together unless they agree? They are partners. Even when God created Adam and Eve, he created Adam and supported him with Eve. So your wife should be your supporter, should be your encourager. The man should be the protector, the cultivator, and should be the defender, should be the instructor, just like Elijah said. Naturally, I like God, but I don't love us. I wouldn't want us to be religious, too religious talking about this, because there are a lot of people that doesn't go to church, that doesn't go to mosque, but they believe in God. So we are talking about humanity here. If you are a father, you love your daughter, whatever you want other people to do to your daughter, do to your wife. So Amos chapter 3 verse 3 comes together. They agree. You plan together. You strategize together.
It's
you
not
train,
an instruction.
no, you train your
obedience.
children together. It's not about slavery. It's not about you reigning domain over your wife. That's why two are better than one in it. They have a good report. Because there are some things you want to do, your wife will encourage you or discourage you for things to go well.
So you're saying, in essence, that it all comes down to the relation, humanity here. People don't tolerate what they can't. As a matter of fact, you know, men who will say, "You dare not beat my sister like that."
Yes.
Oh, but they say they came. Somebody sent a message to me last week when we were talking about this, and he said to me, I want to quote him exactly the way he said it. He said the Bible says, "Train a child in the way he should go, and he will not depart from it." He said, "Spoil the rod and spoil the child, and spoil the rod and spare the child." So I'm like, okay, why do you keep quoting parts of the scripture that talks about child and parents? Is your wife your child? Is the question here.
Well, wife is not your child, because when you look at the book of 1 Peter chapter 3 from verses 3 to 6.
Oh, you are quoting the Bible now.
My prophet is here. He says Sarah must, he said, women must be submissive, and Sarah is submissive to what? To Abraham. So it's not that they are your child, but you take them as if, you know, women, because of their weakness.
Yes.
You look at them as your child, so that you, the way you need to treat your child, that's the way you treat them.
Yes.
But we beat our children.
Sometimes, but you don't beat your wife.
Yes.
Because she's not child in that angle. She's not your child.
Exactly. Exactly.
She's your wife there, but you look at her as if
She's your child.
There are some things you have to overlook. There are some things you just have to pamper her for.
That's it.
There are some things you just need to walk away from. Just like Elijah rightly said. So it's always funny when we see people arguing about religion. You know, when he was talking, I was asking myself, what else would I say again? Because he actually said what I needed to say. So you just have it at the back of your mind that, will you maltreat your child? Will you maltreat your daughter? Will you insult her openly? Will you bully her openly? If you can't do that, so handle your wife better in a way that she will know that, okay, you love her and you have her in your heart.
But let me now ask you this question. If somebody maltreats your child, beats, abuses.
Already I'm sweating. Because that's gonna happen.
Really?
It's not gonna happen.
You're a pastor.
It's not gonna happen.
You're a prophet.
Yes, yeah, when you said I'm a prophet, you know, I will have, in Islam, we only have only one prophet. You know, I was born into Islam and my Muslim name was Wasil.
Yes.
So being a prophet is what we believe in the church that I Celestial Church, because we have only one pastor. So if I start claiming pastor, I'm claiming myself to be the head of the whole of Celestial. So I have to correct that angle because I am a servant. But what I'm saying as a pastor doesn't mean I will see my daughter being maltreated. I can't do that to my wife. Let me tell you one funny thing. I walked away out of a relationship while I was growing up just because the person was frustrating. It was really frustrating because I was looking for a woman that would be able to face the congregation, that would be able to talk, that would be able to preach. And that was what I was looking at. I wasn't looking at what will be after how she would treat my mother. I value my mother so much that if you don't love my mom or you disrespect my mom, I walk away. And I told her, if you don't love my mom and you disrespecting my mom, if you can't handle my mom, you can't handle the church. And my mom happens to be a very calm woman. Do you know a Muslim named Risikat? If you know the meaning of Risikat, you don't treat Risikat like Busikat. Because of the way she was acting, I pulled out of it. Despite the fact there was a date for the marriage and everything. So being a pastor does not mean I will allow my children, my daughter to be maltreated, my daughter to be mishandled, because I'm not going to do that.
What will you do?
Of course, it cannot happen.
You're still saying it cannot.
I am very sure it cannot happen because I won't fight. I won't fight. But there are ways of fencing. There are some ways of caging. There are some ways of handling things with wisdom. The Bible says wisdom is profitable to direct. I don't need to fight before I correct things.
Okay, so Apostle Johnson Sulaiman, but the video, whenever it's ready, my director can just play, did say that if you're a man in his church and you're beating your wife, one of the things he wants to do, he said, I will arrange men in the church. He said, we will, first of all, go to the police station and tell the police, one man in our church, we want to deal with him. We will allow people to know. Let's listen to him briefly. I think the video is right there.
There are certain marriages that should break. There was nothing they didn't say about. That's why I kept quiet now. Did you hear me say anything now? I didn't talk. But now, that's not the latest. Everybody's talking now. And somebody reached out to me and said, when you said it years ago, they insulted you. What did they say? You are in a marriage, a man is beating you. You won't leave him. Stay there now. You will die. We'll bury you. A man raise hand and beat. If I catch you in this church as a man, you beat your wife, we will beat you. I'm not joking, no. What is happening? All those women that husbands are beating, don't they have brothers? If they have no biological brother, they have Christian brothers. I'm warning you now, if you are beating your wife, stop it. If your wife reports you to me that you are beating her, I will go to the police, I will take permission. So after police, who will you report me to now? And let them know what is happening, that as a pastor, that you allow me and some brethren, I will gather them, we will keep you in one room, beat you, so you will know the feeling of a slap. You will know what it means.
Apostle Johnson Sulaiman basically was saying, we beat you up. Okay, so you want to know what, you understand what a slap is all about. When we congregate to give you slaps, you will get it. It comes back to the idea of you're a father and you have daughters. Your daughter comes in one day, or your younger sister, or somebody close to you comes in one day and says, Daddy, he beat me up. Or she didn't even tell you. Let's paint the story of our dear sister who died recently. She didn't tell you. Let's just assume that somebody else came to tell you and said, do you know that they beat her black and blue? I've watched it happen 3 times and I've told your daughter to leave. What would you do as a father?
Well, Islam has given us the ways. There are ways in which you can take divorce. Women can even seek for divorce.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. We have wajib, we have mundub, we have mubah, we have makruh, and we have haram. These are the 5 steps. The mubah is when a woman says that she is being maltreated, leading to depression. They're not to stay in that marriage. Islam says you pull out. And that is the reason why I say when you get married, Quran said, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ شِقَاقًا بَيْنَهُمَا. If there is a problem, discrepancy, or an issue between the 2 couples, فَبْوَاسُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ آلِهَا وَحَكَمًا مِنْ آلِهِ إِنْ يُرِيدَ إِصْلَاحًا. Call somebody that is sensible in the part of the bride, the other one that is sensible in the part of the groom. If they want solution, then this particular that will now sit down. What happened to you? He has been beating me. Why do you beat her? She has been insulting me in the house. Then they will now settle it amicably. Now, that is the first step. The second step is the man did that thing again. Another you can see for divorce. If along the line you resettle. The third one, you don't marry her again. If you want to marry her again, she needs to go and marry another person, divorce that person, before you can get married to her.
According to Islam.
Yes, and again, during the time you want to divorce her, she must stay in your house for 3 good months. She must do 3 menstrual period in your house. You will feed her. You will clothe. You must not touch her. You have to panabit her. Do you have very good? For the person that will take her, you are stupid now.
Oh, so you have to take care of her and take
very well for that 3 months.
Basically, put her back in shape.
Yes, but if she is pregnant, why you want to divorce her? I'll stay with you, terminate when she gives birth.
Because some people beat pregnant women. Just about 2 weeks ago, we were here and somebody was talking about an allergy who beat his wife during this fast. A pregnant wife during this fast because she did not give iftar early enough. Beat her very well. Pregnant woman. Comes back to you. Christians will say, the issue of divorce, making, if I hear it, don't even talk about it. Women are ostracized simply for conceiving the idea of divorce. The moment they think about it, a lot of people in fact, the church they just become an outcast automatically. And this is something many people have decided not to go through because the trauma of being ostracized is going to be more, they assume is more than the pain that they are withstanding and tolerating and enduring in their relationship. What's your view?
Yeah, sometimes we have to trace it to families, we have to trace it to parents, we have to trace it to upbringing. You cannot marry from a family where the father beats the mother and you think the child will not act like the father. We have to trace it to that angle too. Because when you were talking about Imam or someone beating his wife, I can tell you about a pastor too that I know very well. He will get to church, he will start pretending. He will fight his wife in the vehicle, in the car before getting to the church. And when they get to the church, they become actor and actress. And because of mommy, do you know yesterday when we were discussing things, and when they go back home, they're going back home, they will start fighting again. They will break mirror and break everything. So it's got nothing to do with Islam or Christianity. It's got to do with family. It's got to do with foundation. It's got to do with how you were brought up. I've never seen my father touch my mother. So the fear is inside of me. How will I even think of slapping or beating my wife? So when you marry from a family where the husband is Bash Ali and all that, because it will begin to work in the life of that child. Because I can't just imagine seeing myself argue in presence of my children with my wife. Sometimes we disagree to agree. Sometimes we have to misunderstand ourselves. Sometimes that misunderstanding ourselves does not mean we're fighting. But I don't want my children to be there. So that I will not think of slapping her, hitting her. So some children are used to that. The way their father used to beat their mother, used to act in the home, affects that child. And when the child grows up, that same thing will happen in his life.
And then they say, don't leave. This idea of they say, I pray about it. Somebody sent us a message again. You can join this conversation this morning, send a text message or a WhatsApp message, or simply call the number on the screen, 08064738133, to be a part of the conversation. You can call, you can send an SMS, you can send a WhatsApp message, and we definitely will have the clerics in the studio attend to your many questions. One of the questions that brought about this conversation, and I told you last week that we have to talk about this. This woman was being battered and battered, and then she called the pastor that morning that she cannot come to church. She's in the choir, and she called the pastor and said, my husband just beat me black and blue. The man left her at home and went to church. So she told the pastor she won't be coming to church. Okay, the man just prayed for her on the phone and said no problem. But on Sunday morning the next week, when she got to church, why won't your husband beat you when you are not submissive? That was the topic of the conversation. She endured that. Very soon she was ostracized. Very soon. It took grace and intervention from outside for her to pull out of that relationship. Now she left the relationship. She cannot go to church because she's scared. She thinks the idea of going to church, that is the way all churches take the issue of separation and divorce. How bad, really? When you are divorced, you will not go to heaven, Abi?
Yes.
You will not go to heaven.
No, it's got to do with common sense, because there's no marriage in heaven, according to us. There's no marriage in heaven. Let me give you this example of a man that I met in my journey in the wilderness, who stabbed his wife 18 times.
18.
Eh?
Yes, and he was a pastor then. He stabbed his wife 18 times. So
He was a pastor.
yes, and he was actually regretting doing that, because severally they've gone to their pastors, their GO. Each time they needed to separate, the GO will settle. So when the GO's daughter was now beaten by her own husband, the GO now separated her daughter from the man. So this man now started feeling bad that same GO was the one that was settling them each time he wanted to pull out of the marriage, because the wife was actually provoking him. So every time he needed to pull out of the marriage, the GO would say, no, you must not, because some are so selfish. Maybe the husband is in the choir and the wife is head usher. So we wouldn't want them to leave the church because they're both useful. So not until this man gets to the prison and is now facing death warrant, is now coming back to his own level.
Did the wife die?
Yes, now he stabbed the wife. The wife died. The wife died. So the same thing the pastor was persuading him not to do was what the pastor did when the husband slapped the daughter of the pastor. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ordinary slap. He separated them. So the place of common sense matters. The place of common sense and wisdom matters. He said we're too religious minded that we have embraced foolishness in the place of wisdom. You can't call me a pastor now and you're slapping my mom before me, or you are slapping my mother before me. It's not possible. The real me will tell you I cannot take that.
Yes.
So I hope, because Alaji will accept that, and I accept that. Like he rightly said, he has explained everything. I'm not supposed to even look at how he explained all those stages. And if it is not working, separate. It is by choice, not by force. Let me give you an example again. Someone just impregnated, his wife's sister. They're living together, and the mother-in-law is now supporting the younger sister against the first one, the wife. And what are we going to say? One was talking to me yesterday. I didn't even want to listen to that too much. She said the husband tore her clothes in front of their house in their street. If you check my phone now, I said divorce.
That's it.
I don't want to talk too much. I said, please don't disturb my life with all those stories, because she's been bringing stories. Severally, the man will beat. But this one, he tore her clothes in front of the house, publicly in front of their street. I said divorce. So in the place of common sense matters and wisdom.
Hey, so they're going to come for you. It's not me. Thank God it's not me that said.
Surely they will gather, surely they will scatter.
So
the one they said about Apostle Suleiman, they were just angry. You know, there are some things you can't even just imagine.
No, but really, I think that idea would have worked.
No, you can't beat a man. No, why would you do that? No, he was just trying to want to carry the members along. When someone argue with me, I don't like pulling people down. I don't like being negative about people. I celebrate people's success because it's their season. So he was only trying to prove to them that such men should be dealt with. He was trying to want to carry members along. So he wasn't really serious about it that they will have to go.
But you see, the interesting part of that story is he asked a very pertinent question. Is it that these women who are being battered physically, you know, there are different types of battering, and we'll be talking about that much later. But is it that these women don't have brothers, uncles, younger or older, who can deal with these husbands on their behalf? Or is there a religious thing that stops these men from the family from going to their sister's house and bundling the man? Because I know of one man whose sister was beaten and went to the sister's house. He came from South Africa to the sister's house, bundled the man, put him in the boot of his car, brought him to Lagos. kept him in jail in Lagos, not in Ibadan where they live, for a couple of days. The in-law, the brother-in-law, for assaulting the sister. And then the parents of the guy were begging and begging. And this guy said, if we don't deal with this guy, he will do it again. When he does it again, if he kills your daughter, you know she's my sister, she's your daughter. When you start weeping, don't call me. They begged him. After 3 days, he let the guy go. The guy went back. He left for South Africa. The next they were going to call him, the sister was dead. When they now called him this time, he did not leave the four corners of his bedroom in South Africa. Not to talk of coming to Nigeria to come and see the parents. He told them to bear the pain of killing their own child by themselves.
But in the other
parents are not the ones. Are they not the ones who tell them?
In the other way, can we look at it at this perspective? There are some women that will call you. Who is my husband now? And I will have 4 children for him. Where would I go? Just let's give him the last chance. I still love him. What in that situation? What do you think we can do? The person you are pleading for is telling you she wants to go back.
Yes.
Don't get my husband. I still love him. Yes. What can we do?
Exactly.
Do we then leave her in that situation?
Yeah.
Do we leave her?
Yeah, you have to leave her, because I've seen such too. There was a time someone came to me, the husband really dealt with her. The man injured her, cut her face and all that. So I called my lawyer. When my lawyer saw the picture and blood and everything, he started reacting. Second day before the day that the man was supposed to be arrested and invited to the station, the lady called me and said, hey, Daddy, and because of my children, please leave. I still love him. He's been begging me since last night, and I pulled off. So there was nothing I could do to just let the man. But I didn't know what's going on with them now. I prayed.
Oh, you just left them.
I left. I pulled off straight.
But when the person is your child, would you just leave them? If you were your sister, would you just leave them?
The first thing is you need to advise her.
Okay.
You advise her. Look at what is happening now.
She's your sister. Can't you force her to leave the place?
When you look at it, I'm not talking of religion aspect now.
Yes.
Culture.
Culture.
Your Bible will tell you. It was the one that came to unpack our sister something like that.
Yes.
Look at where that
Yes.
But that So we look at that. So I would not want to be the black sheep of the family.
Exactly.
You understand me now?
Exactly,
so situation like that, you call sensible people from the side of the husband and that of the wife. Yes. Let them sit down together. Yes. If it's a situation whereby they have to put pen on paper, then like I want their son.
Yes.
Such things should not happen again. Then you come back to a sense. At least in the family, you must have somebody that is he will be respected.
It is a family that beats because
that is
what Prophet said.
Exactly. When it's even sister issue, you have to let them be. I've seen a situation where I'd wanted to overreact. To overreact, to want to make things happen. And someone gave me one word. That thing really touched me and haunts me. Really affected me for 3 days. He said, why don't you leave them alone? They're adults. As a prophet, God revealed some things to me. As a prophet, God told me some things. God has been using me for many people in the world. I've never charged anybody. As a prophet, I've never said, after giving you prophecy, this is what God revealed, go and bring money. No. How can I tell you that you're close to me, or you are now taking me for granted, the prophetic gifts in me for granted? And I was bothered, and I asked for an advice from someone, and the person, why don't you leave them alone? They're adults, let them live their lives. That thing really touched my heart for like 4 or 5 days. And I said to myself, I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not going to be part of it again. I'm not going to talk about it again. There is one song my father used to sing while he was alive. You see, when these people are in love, when they are in love, if you are not careful, if you put your mouth, they will break your head.
Yes.
But we are talking about sister or whatever here, but daughter, I have to say, I have a right to handle my daughter, to talk to the husband. Of course, I sit them down. This is what I'm expecting. This is what I'm expecting. I would never close my eyes as long as I'm alive.
Yes.
I'm not going to allow anybody maltreat my daughter. It's not going to happen. And I will not begin to quote Bible. I will, of course, to the glory of God, we have to pray. Watch the family. And when the child is trying to want to derail, we correct her back, picking from what Elijah said.
This person wants to ask you, what if it is a situation where the husband is fond of locking the wife out of the house, where they lock her out of the house, different?
Yeah, it's common. It's common. I've seen such.
Sure,
Not even Oladele. There are some that will say, "This is my house.
Yes.
Go out." That's why women shouldn't be full housewife. If you're a full housewife, you're a fool. You should be financially independent, even if you're not going to compete with your husband. You see, there are ways how men will see you, handle you. The way I see my wife, I see her as my sister. If she doesn't have money, she's my sister. If she's got money, she's my sister. I love looking at her, see her good, wear better things that I do. But not all men will be like that.
Yes.
The man must have seen your family before treating you like that. Ó ti rí pé ọmọ tí ò ní rán ni pé kàbà bẹ́ẹ̀ ìyẹ́ kò sẹ́ni tó lè gbèjà ẹ̀ á ní àlùbọ́tà. Number two, it happens sometimes some ladies will have placed their family to the hand of the husband. Rubbish the family. Say bad about the family when he was in law, when she was in law. So that guy will now take advantage of that.
That's it.
But if you're from a reliable family and you're so sensible, if he locks you out, go back to your parents' house and don't stay outside there, because something like that happened to you. A man drove his wife out, and the lady was strolling down the road looking for where to sleep, and she was raped. She was seriously raped. The end of the story, let me keep it, because the person happens to be very, very close to me. And I warn her. So if I warn you and you're not really working towards what God is telling me through you or wisdom, I walk away. She was raped. And that was all.
All right, as we round off this conversation, I wanted to speak to the families, because now it all comes down to the issue of how the family itself sees the idea of separating when abuse is all involved. Sometimes it's the church, most times it's about the family. Like you said, they will say,
Yes.
Speak to families. Can we have a change of perspective?
See, a family have a lot to do in marital issue. A lot. Because that is the reason when they want to get married in Islam, we will ask, Shahiditum, are you all witness here? They will say Shahidi now. We are all witness. They will bring certificate. Representative sign. They don't know the reason or the consequence of signing that certificate. On the day of accountability, you will be the witness there. You were there when this thing happened. So we need to sensitize them, call the parties, advise them. Like my prophet has rightly said, you need to advise them. They are just coming into this marital something. They never have the experience. Love. It's not only get there, they know that it is more than that. And at least, how many years have I been in this kind of up to 24 years? But there's never a day I've never slapped my wife. There's never a day.
Has she abused you before?
She has. But I took her like my sister. One night, I took her like my sister. In fact, when you see both of us, they will say, she's my younger sister.
Sorry, I know her very well.
You know her very well. So that is how it's supposed to be. Mind you,